happy people, it's Traci Reed here today, coming at you with another spread in my Scrappers Blockbusters series. I have this spread, it's actually 2 pages. This is a 9x12, and then we got pockets over here. These were some photos that I printed out in the summer that I intended to scrapbook then and talk about a few different accomplishments. These are work related, and then we have some fitness related ones. This is the first time that I ever ran. I ran a 10K. It's the only time I've ever ran a 10K so far. And so I thought that the Still Me collection would work really well for this spread. First of all, there's a lot of grays going on, and so the grays in the collection work really well, but also like as a scrappers block busting sort of feel, using new products or letting your products that are really inspiring you provide the inspiration for maybe a layout that's not inspiring you. So that is kind of the tactic I'm going with. I'm really inspired by my Still Me collection right now. I'm just coming off the wave of designing it, and I designed it specifically with this sort of purpose in mind. So I'm gonna let the products inspire the layout rather than the photos inspiring the layout. So I have a few ideas specifically for this side. Pockets are always really easy for me, but specifically for the 9x12 side, there are some fun frames in this collection that I think I want to incorporate. I'm gonna use this dark navy blue as a base, but I'm gonna use a lot of the color in the collection and the, like the patterns in the collection, so it'll lighten up this whole thing. But I'm thinking that I want to sort of have these photos hanging like they are also frames. So I'm kind of like wanting to stagger the actual frames in with the photos, and that's kind of where I am starting here. I think I'm gonna have to, first of all, this one I don't like. It doesn't really, like, it tells the story, but I don't like the photo, obviously. I think that these 3 photos tell the story just as well, and I can include in the journaling the stats for my run. So I think if I pare that down, take that photo out, and then use these as hanging sort of photos, maybe have some journaling here, title here, not sure. Anyway, if I take that photo out, it frees up some space, makes this a little less clunky. It was really fun because on my 6-mile run, they were setting up for a 5K, or no, it was some sort of walk for charity. So they had written all of these phrases all over the ground, and so I was taking photos of them because I pretended that they were for me. So anyway, this is kind of the thought process that I'm starting with, matching my my pocket side. Sorry, it's early. Matching the pocket side is always easy for me, so I'm gonna start with the harder side for me. I have the Traveler's Notebook papers for this collection printed out, so I'm going to start with all this beautiful color and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to switch over to the voiceover now. Alrighty, so the first thing we need to do is trim this paper down to a 9x12 so that we know what we're working with here. And I decide that I want to cluster these in sort of a grid pattern, so that's where I'm sort of starting here. And I am going to build some floral clusters around these frames. I have a Project Life card in the card pack that has a frame with florals around it, so that was kind of the vibe I was going for because I really like that effect. And I'm going to include some word art on each cluster, so I'm kind of looking around, seeing what I want to add. I decided to add both of those banners, and I decided that I'm going to add journaling to each cluster as well. So the journaling will start at the top and work its way down to the bottom. So that's kind of my basic plan for this layout. And so now I need to start backing some of these photos with some of these papers. So I'm going to use this floral. I like the gray. I'm wearing gray. The ground is gray. So I wanted to back a lot of these pictures in gray, and I decided to go with pink as well because there's pink in the gray paper that I chose. So I'm going to back both of these in pink. Just kind of freehand cutting here, which is always a messy proposition. So again, I'm letting my product inspire me for this this spread. The photos themselves are obviously, I mean, the photos aren't bad, so it's not that the photos weren't inspiring me. It was just that I didn't know how to approach them, especially since I had a sort of different configuration here with 3 of these square photos, which is not a size that I scrapbook very often. So I'm just letting my product sort of dictate what I'm going to do with these photos. And sometimes that's really fun, especially when you have some unique embellishments like these fun hanging frames. Letting the product define the direction that you go can be sort of a fun exercise in changing the way you scrapbook. And you can see that this looks definitely different than the way that I normally scrapbook, and the way that this page comes out makes me really happy, so it was a good experiment. So I'm just kind of sticking these clusters down, and then I decide, of course, after I stick everything down, that everything's too far apart and I need to move everything closer together. So that's what I'm going to end up doing here in a minute. I really want to use these girls, so I am putting them down, and they could have worked in this size, but I felt like I needed a bit smaller of a size for this layout specifically. So I pull the girls off the planner stickers because they are a bit smaller, and I like that size better. I'm going to move them around a few times before I'm happy with where they are. And of course I stick down stickers and then decide to move everything because that's how I roll. So now is about the time I'm like, okay, everything's too far apart. I need to move everything closer together. I thought about adding the reading girl over here, but she didn't really make sense with the composition or like the subject matter of the page. So she's actually going to go on the other side where I am working. So I just cut out the part of me moving everything closer together. You can see it's all clustered much closer now. It looks a little bit better. I love that Smash Goals light box. Perfect. I'm going to push this Jumping for Joy girl right to the edge of the photo because I don't want to cover up the words. So I cut that word strip in half, and I'm going to layer it in 2 places so that it covers up that black spot a little bit better. And stick a little floral down in there so it looks clustered and like it was meant to go in there to begin with. Gonna put the headphones in there because I got big old headphones on in the picture. I love that actually I can, so I put that in there too, clustering some more flowers. Basically gonna use all the die cut flowers on this page. Good thing about digital embellishments is I can always cut out more, which is awesome. Apple Watch, because I adore my Apple Watch and it helps me on all of my runs. So I decided I needed more color and pattern over here, so I'm going to back all of these frames in this floral paper, and then I'm going to take it a step further and back some of the photos in the floral paper as well, just to bring some more pattern and color out on the edges of the cluster, because I felt like I had too much black. I mean, I liked the black. I thought it was a good, like it was different than the norm, but I felt like it was a little bit stark with this cluster, and I could have added some paper around the outside edges and maybe matted the black on something else, but I instead decided to stick with the Traveler's Notebook papers that I had already printed out and add to the center of the cluster instead. Obviously this is a 9x12 layout, so it would have taken some fussing to get it right with the, you know, because I can print 12 inches because I have a wide format printer, but 12-inch paper is expensive and hard to come by, so I don't actually have any yet because I don't feel the need to print 12x12 papers, so there's that. I could have made it work though, I've done it before. So I'm going to use these scraps because I am so frugal to back this last photo, and amazingly enough, the pattern lines up perfectly in this corner here, and you can't even hardly tell that it's 2 pieces of paper when I'm done with it. That's crazy. I was so happy. Some things work out just perfectly sometimes. So there we go. All of those are backed. I'm about done with that page. I'm going to come back and add a flower in a minute when I find it. So now I'm going through the cards and adding cards to this page. I'm going to use that Top Knots and espresso shots because I'm literally drinking espresso. And I'm looking through the pattern cards, deciding what else I want to add. I want to do that gray because I want to bring in some gray from the other side. And I pulled in a few more options. I printed out the 4x6 cards and not the 3x4 cards in my pattern cards set because I can cut down the 4x6s into 3x4s. So I like to be frugal and only print out one size. So I'm going to, I've decided what I want to back everything in, and I know I want to use those 2 girls, so I pulled them off the sticker sheet so I wouldn't lose them. And I'm going to go through all of these die cuts, and I'm putting the ones that I'm not going to use, or I'm sure I'm not going to use, in this dish to kind of get them out of my way, so I only have what I want left. And then putting down a few if I know where I want them. So it's just kind of the way I clean up my area and really helps me to focus on the embellishments that I know might work rather than having them all on my desk now that I'm sort of finishing up this spread. I liked those hexagons working together on the photo, especially since there's a lot of empty space in that photo, and it's also a repetitive photo since it's the same sort of photo that I have on the 9x12 spread, so I'm okay with covering some of it up. I'm going to use, instead of florals on this side, I'm going to use the stars. Just going to put everything down here so that nothing's moving around and I can work around them. Again, we have sort of a repetitive photo up there, so I'm okay with covering some of either one up. I'm going to use this laptop because I was working on my laptop. And I just love using all these illustrations. They're so fun. I used the girl who has the planner and the coffee on that card as well because I was sitting in Starbucks working. Adding little stars everywhere. I put that one a little bit. I didn't want them vertically aligned, so I took it off and moved it. I have these cute glasses, but of course it can't go on my running photo, so I put it on the one above it. And I'm just sort of finishing it off. I'm about done here. I'm going to move over to the live voiceover here in a second after I add in my title that says Current Mood Invincible. Adding a little shooting star here. I love the way this came out. So cute. This is definitely a collection from my heart, so I of course had to use it on a billion pictures of me. Alright, we're going to switch over to the live voiceover now since I am about done. Alright, and here is this spread all done. You can see I used the product to tie both sides together, and even though I was telling sort of a fitness story on this side and a work just feeling good story on this side, you can see I used the whole collection to pull it all together, especially with these girls. I used the Jumping for Joy girl and the fitness girl on this side, and then made sure to use the the working girl and the reading girl on this side to they sort of go across the whole spread, bring the whole thing together. I was really intentional about my color as well. I really love this dark background with all these really pretty light colors. And then I made sure to bring in some more dark, not black, but more dark of the colors from the collection on this side so that this side wasn't super white while this side was super dark. And yeah, that's it. I really love this. I love how it came out. I love this collection, so that's really helpful. But you can see how I used the product to inspire the layout and just kind of let the product dictate the way that this came out and the way that I scrapbooked it. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. And if you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed, and I will leave a link to the Still Me collection in the description box below if you're wanting to pick it up and try out some hybrid scrapbooking. I thank you.